In this video, we're going to talk about synth babies. This is Picasso. It is still not born yet. A version of it is out there somehow as a sort of prototype, and now it's becoming a thing. This thing grew up under the wings of beautiful instruments that are already out there in the world. And today we're going to talk about this, stealing ideas and making synth babies. Spotykacz is an instrument by the developer Vlad Litvinenko. He also programmed the Simple Touch series that's available on our GitHub. You should really check these out because the core of this code is actually already on GitHub. The slicer and the looper are already on GitHub, so you should check them out and you can upload them and mess around with them on your Simple Touch. Now, this is Spotykacz. It's not really an instrument yet, it's just a piece of plastic and some metal. But I had to make this to figure out the form factor and the interface and all that, which you don't really see here, but we're going to get to this very soon. As we're waiting for the first prototype to arrive, I thought I could show you guys a couple of core functionalities from the instrument using a modular setup. You probably are familiar with the phrase from Picasso, "Good artists copy, great artists steal." T.S. Eliot also wrote something like this in 1920, so it's a bit, it's roughly the same time, so I don't know who wrote what first. Anyway, what T.S. Eliot wrote is beautiful, I think. Immature poets imitate, mature poets steal, bad poets deface what they take, and good poets make it into something better, or at least something different. And so Spotykacz revolves around the notion of looping with a built-in generative sequencer. These are like touchpads here and here, and modulation sources here, and performance-driven touchpads, everything here. Like there are lots of touchpads everywhere that you could use to Street Fighter combo your way through to make all sorts of like fun, cool things. And the challenge there is to figure out how to make this accessible and easy to play with rather than just like too complicated and cumbersome. It's a mix of ideas that potentially might become something different. And in this video, we're going to look into the core functionality of looping and in particular, tape phasing techniques inspired by Steve Reich. Steve Reich in the 60s started exploring how to play tapes to create all sorts of phasing effects. He created a whole career that revolves around playing music in real time with like 6 pianos that play and shift in phasing the same kind of patterns. So what we're going to do now, and actually, Hainbach just released a video about this a month ago. Let me see if I can focus this camera. First of all, he was playing something very Steve Reichy.
Okay, that's 3 phrases.
And then he put it on tape and he cut the tape to size, and there are 2 tape decks right here. And these 2 decks, and of course I'm going to share a link to this below so you can watch the whole video. It's fantastic and it's a really good lesson. But what we're going to try to do is the same thing with this. I'm just going to show you how it sounds like when it works.
Theoretically, if I press play on both machines, they should run in time. It depends on my precision. I gave my best.
Yeah. So by precision, he means he cut these 2 pieces of tape that have the same material on them, exactly the same length. Let's see how it sounds.
So, both machines are ready. Let's go.
So he cut it really well. So he's not sure if it's actually playing both. But it is. It just takes a bit of time because the cutting was really very precise. Here you can already hear how...
Starting to hear a tiny shift.
Yeah, there's a shift, there is phasing. So it almost sounds like a delay. And there's another piece right after this that sounds even more aggressive. I don't know if aggressive is the right word to use here. This is super beautiful. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Awesome. Okay, so what we're going to try to do is to do this with digital delays. The modules that I'm using are the DLD from 4MS. I'm using a little mixer here. So these two channels are going to left and right that you're hearing. And this one is a clock that is coming from Basimilus Iteritus Alter. I know, this is a crazy use of this module, but I'm literally just using it as a clock. This is a massive, massive beast. And here I have a couple of LFOs. I'm not using them yet, but we might use them a bit later because this is also part of the functionality that we have right here on Spotify. Okay, without further ado, let's talk about the main feature that this baby is stealing from all its parents: looping. This is a dual looper, so I can record on this buffer and I can record on this buffer, and these buttons are going to lock the loop. I have here time, and although I don't have pitch, which I do have here, which is more like morphogene, for instance, this is going to allow me to shift the time slightly, which is equivalent to what Steve Reich or Hainbach did in that video, making the tape slightly shorter or longer, just in different size. So if this is slightly shorter and this is, this is synced to the clock and this is a bit shorter, then I can now send a signal in 3, 4, 1 through 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And I have a tape loop. And you can hear, let's turn off the clock. You can hear that it's actually shifting. I'm hoping that you're listening to this on headphones. Now, obviously, this is not a perfect loop, and this is a bit tricky here because, this module is not really designed for this purpose. But if I want to change the start point of this or end point of this, I can click this and move a bit to the left. Let's maybe turn this off. And I can basically shift the end by holding reverse and moving this knob. But you see, this is actually really tricky, and this is where this unit is going to solve this by using just a bit of a different, like you actually have a knob for size and a knob for position, which is coming from granular synthesis, right? So we're stealing parts from granular synthesis and replacing them on a conventional looper. Again, none of this is like an original idea, but it's a combination of a bunch of things together that is going to allow this to potentially be something interesting and new. So that's that. Let's wrap this up. And I want to talk about something else. Sound on sound. Transition. Sound on sound. If I turn this all the way to 100% and this to 100%, this means that now this delay is going to be playing on this clock whatever is fed into it, and it's going to record over and over and over and over on it. This is going to emulate what we're going to have here. We're going to have here a knob at the top. It doesn't exist yet, but there's going to be a knob at the top for sound on sound. And what I'm going to do is to start my clock, and I don't need to press on the loop buttons because they are anyway, it's anyway going to be looping. 2, 3, 4. Okay, now I can add oh shit. Well, this is an interesting scale. And you can hear what happens here is, because this is now recording over and over and over again, the sound quality degrades, which is also really an interesting artifact that's happening here, an interesting addition. And of course I can make this slightly shorter to make the effect of phasing more prominent. And I encourage you to explore and experiment with this at home, because this is safe. Any tape delay that you have probably can reach 100%. And if it's a tape delay, that's even more interesting. I wish I would have tape delay here that I could mess around with. Maybe next time we're going to do it in VCV Rack. Okay, cool. Now what I wanted to do, and maybe let's do another transition. We have here two modulation sources, and these can be envelope followers. So envelope follower for this one, envelope follower for this one, but also sample and hold with slew and sine wave, sawtooth, and like different modulations. Maybe share in the comments below what kind of modulations would you imagine be useful in this, because you can patch these in very interesting ways. One of them, which actually makes it really unique, you can hold and then hold anywhere else to send this particular signal to a source. So not only you can patch from here directly into wherever you want, or of course to the outside world, you can also just like hold and press, and then it will modulate a certain thing based on that. All these are like touchpads. So yeah, let's try to emulate this right here. So I'm going to take this very slow LFO, and I'm going to put it into the time of B, which is this. It's going to be here. Well, it's completely dead. So let's maybe clean this up. Clock. Let's use these buttons to turn on the loop. 1, 2, 3, and... Okay. Okay, so without the time being modulated, this is what we hear. Now I'm gonna keep only the right one for a moment and see what happens when I change the time with the modulation. It creates this glitchy variation. I'm sure that if we make this faster, and there is something that I would love now to do, but I can't because I don't really have a mixer. Like, it would be another module here. But this switch right here is going to allow us to switch between mono, so two signals that are going directly in together, or stereo, or complete mix of like randomality, where some notes from here are going to be playing here. So the decks are dynamically exploring the space between them, if that makes sense. But I can't do this now. This would be actually really interesting, because if you have now this thing that's changing, and this change is going to sometime be heard on the left and sometime on the right, that can actually be really interesting. And of course, on top of this we have reverse, which is always interesting and also fun. I'm now windowing through, so these are also, now I need to press on these to actually get to windowing. I need to hold on the loop and then feedback. This is something that we'll be able to do here with the size and the position. Yeah, and there's also modulation over it, which is really, really cool. There's a switch right here that allows you to take this modulation and send it either to size, to position, or if it's in the middle, to both. And again, there is another thing that's missing here. This modulation is now going 100% here, but I wish that I could attenuate it. And in here, what we added is there is the speed of the modulation, and then there's also attenuation. So then you can decide how much of it is going to go in, and it's already built into the module. And I hope this makes sense. To conclude transition, what we want to do is to take ideas that are already out there and bring them together into something new. Take a bunch of things, this and this and this, all these different great ideas that other people have created, and put them together into an original, ideally an original idea. You don't really know if it's going to be an original idea, but you're doing your best to put a mix of things together. Spotykač, the main thing that makes it unique is the fact that these are two decks that can behave in three different ways. That's actually one of the things that makes it really unique. But this thing is basically the switch right here. This switch defines whether we're going to be in delay mode, if we're going to be in slicer mode, or in looper mode. And you can toggle quickly between them during performance. And you have this for both decks. And the second thing that's interesting is this Spotykač fader that basically makes the instrument drunk, which is a lot of fun. We'll talk about this in a different episode of this lovely vlog. That's it for now. If you guys have any questions, please drop them in the comments below. If you have any suggestions for videos I should cover or topics I should cover, please drop them in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.